Hello, everyone. This is Tammy Fisher within the Doll World, and I'm here today with my wonderful co-host, Miss Georgette Taylor.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Miss Georgette Taylor.
Hey, Miss Tammy Fisher.
And today we're excited to introduce you to our friend, Marie Georghy Jacob. And
Hello.
hello, bonjour. And
Hello.
is the artist and owner of Atelier, Ms. Georgia. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to talk to you and to share your doll journey with our followers.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So we're going to start where we start, and that is, please tell us your journey, how it began, and how you ended up being here with us today.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry, my English is going to be a little bit wonky, a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to explain my journey in the doll making world. You know, like many young girls, I started playing with Barbie dolls, with Barbie dolls with my sisters. But the first doll that I really liked, it was a Cabbage Patch Kids doll. And yes, a Cabbage Patch Kid doll. But the first fashion doll that I really liked, other than Barbie, it was the British doll Sandy. I don't know if you know that doll.
Yes.
And for me, she was as beautiful as Barbie, but I love her natural features than Barbie, more than Barbie. And then in the mid 80s, another doll really I fell in love with another doll, a beautiful fashion doll called Gem from the Gem and the Holograms. I don't know if you remember that doll back in the 80s. And I loved her because she has a background story. She had a background story. There was a TV show I can follow, a story. And what I love about that doll, not only she was, the manager of a music group, but the doll looked more natural. Her body was more natural looking, and she was quite more bigger than Barbie. So that was the one of the most beautiful doll I ever seen. Even though it was completely the 80s fashion, but I love her fashion and I love her. So I started like that, by playing with beautiful dolls back in the 80s. When it comes to my doll making, it's funny because it came by accident. Completely by accident, because it came in 2001. I was getting married and I was searching for a wedding dress, and to getting ideas for a wedding dress, the first thing I did is buying, wedding magazines. And I ended up by buying a wedding magazine. There was another display with, a craft display with magazines, and there was Barbie Bazaar magazine down there just in front. So I decided to buy that magazine. And I wait 2 years before I decided to buy that magazine.
To get a subscription? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, my first subscription. And I will have to say, I have to thank that magazine, because this magazine was very well detailed about collecting doll world when it comes to Barbie doll, especially when it comes to adult collecting world, because it's a serious business. I discovered it was a huge business, especially in the US. So people took it very seriously, and there was so many shows that was held across the US, even in Canada. So I was really surprised. And the most beautiful thing that I love about this magazine is that it introduced me with another beautiful silkstone Barbie doll.
Oh, yes.
Oh, she was so gorgeous. And what I discovered, there was so many designers, fashion designers, who were making specific dolls with their own brand by using silkstone Barbie dolls. So, and the other thing that I love with this magazine is the advertising. They were advertising other doll companies, such as Madame Alexander, Integrity Toys, Torno Doll Company. So this is how I discover other doll companies and other doll artists with this magazine. And the other thing that I discover also is that there were a lot of people that were changing the way the Barbie doll were looking. So they changed the makeup, they changed their hair. So, and they were making fashion for their own fashion Barbie dolls, and they were selling them. So this is how I said this is a serious business. So, and also I discovered that was about 100,000 doll collectors only in the US for Barbie doll. So I was really surprised. That was back in 2004.
Wow.
So it was a serious business. And I discovered Toy Fair also with that magazine. So I have to thank that magazine. And it gave me the chance also to subscribe to other doll magazines, such as Contemporary Doll, Collectible Dolls, Doll Reader. And also I discovered another fashion doll magazine, which I think is one of the best, which is Old Doll Magazine. That was back in 2005. And with that doll magazine, it introduced me to a very much more independent doll makers and small companies.
Right.
And this is how I discovered Volks Company from Japan.
Yes.
And many BGG dolls buy this magazine also. And other doll makers such as Jason Wu from Integrity Toys. Oh my God, there's so many. But the two really doll makers really opened my eyes in that doll business when it comes to independent doll makers. It was the duo from the Cyberwitz doll and Super Dolls. I don't know if you know them.
Yes.
Charles Spigen and Desmond Nengard. So with their first doll, because their doll was featured in one of the page cover of that magazine, and it just blew my mind away.
Yeah.
And the two of them are from the fashion industry, just like me. So it gave me, like I said to myself, you know what? Maybe there's something for me down there, because if there's a lot of, and also I discovered Jean Marshall also with that magazine, with Old Doll. So by Mel Odom, and also Robert Turner is also from the fashion, fashion world.
Fashion world, yeah.
He is.
Oh my God! So I said to myself, you know what? Maybe I'm in the right industry, you know. But I took my time before I ended up making my dolls. I said to myself, if I want to know this world, it's better for me to start by collecting those beautiful dolls first. So I took my time by learning the industry and the different companies and the different artists. This is how I ended up, you know, with one article in the Old Doll magazine back in 2007. There was a beautiful article related to Ellowyne Wilde, the beautiful doll created by Robert Turner. So I decided to buy this doll a few months later for my birthday as a birthday gift. So I bought not only one doll in less than a year, I bought five of them. So, and I love the aesthetic, the quality was just there. So, and even my family, when they saw the doll, they said, my God, that's a beauty. And I received a lot of compliment for that doll, you know? And so I decided to making clothes for her. And I bought an American model doll, also a big doll from Robert Turner. A year later, and she was gorgeous. Gorgeous. So, and I love his work. I love Robert Turner and his work. The craftsmanship is beautiful. So I've spent the next 3 years collecting beautiful fashion dolls created by Robert Turner. But I didn't collect, I have a specific type of doll that I like to collect, especially 16 inches dolls. Not the Barbie type doll, much more the bigger ones. And I started making fashion for them, and I was selling them throughout eBay. I had a small label, fashion label called Marie Georghy Montreal, which I was selling the clothes from eBay. And I did that for around 3 years. So between 2008 and 2011. What happened in 2011 is that I discovered the industry was shifting a little bit. Many of the beautiful dolls that I liked, that I was creating the fashion, is that there were two things that was happening. The body has changed, so they changed the design of the body of the doll, and the sculpting, or the doll was discontinued. So I got so upset, and I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to make my own doll because I know how to draw. And there was an article by an artist from Thailand who is still there making beautiful porcelain BGG dolls. He's from Thailand. The articles were really a good article to, because when he first started making his own fashion dolls, he didn't know how to start. So he asked one of his teachers, art class teachers, how to create, a fashion doll, how to create. And his teacher told him, it's simple. It's a drawing. It's a technical drawing. So you only have to draw, the front, the back, and the side of the doll, and you have the doll. And the other thing that you have to do is to learn how to sculpt. So this is what I did. By reading a lot of articles, because I was subscribed in different fashion doll magazines, I discovered many independent doll makers. How they started with two materials, polymer clay or air drying clay. So me, I decided to start with polymer clay because for two reasons. First, because it was available in Montreal, so that's why. And second is because I wanted to make ethnic dolls. And with air drying clay dolls, you cannot make a variety of black dolls. You cannot make that, because the clay is white, so you have to. So with polymer clay, you can mix the clay and different brands of polymer clay. So this is how I started. And since I felt comfortable with sculpting, I didn't feel comfortable with polymer clay because polymer clay is a sort of a plastic with oil inside of it. So I had to buy some books and some DVDs. And thank you, Lord, I had different doll magazine where there was a lot of advertisement, especially Art Doll magazine.
Yeah, they have a lot of advertising, yes.
Yeah, advertising and advertising from Pro Sculpt by Jack Johnson. So I ended up buying a few of his DVDs from Jack Johnson, from Patricia Rose, another doll maker, and April Jensen. But the first book that I bought is from Catherine Dewey. I have it just beside me. This book. This book is fantastic, especially if you have no experience with polymer clay, or you just want to, to start slowly. And what I did is that I studied this book for a year.
Wow.
Before I even start sculpting anything. And I study also the DVD, two Jack Johnson DVDs, and April Jensen's also. So I took my time. I spent a year to learn how to make things. So and during that year, that was back in 2011, I started to draw many, many, many dolls. And after the holidays of 2011, I said to myself, it's time or never. I need to start. And since I love challenging myself, I said, I'm going to give myself a year to make my first doll. And what happened is that in mid-January 2012, I bought plasticine, not polymer clay. I bought plasticine because I wanted to make trials and errors. I want to give myself, because let's say it, polymer clay, yes, it's polymer clay, but it's a bit expensive, especially the best brands, they're a bit expensive. So I said to myself, plasticine, it's plasticine, you can buy it for $4 or $5, it's not expensive. So I spent the first month of January 2012 and February 2012 making dozens of heads, dozens of them. And my first heads were terrible. They were terrible. And what happened is that I decided to buy more books by different dolls, not doll makers, but the sculptors, real sculptors from different countries, especially from France and Italy. And I have those books just behind me. So it helped me because I think it's important to have different materials, different books, different approach how to make dolls, not one approach. It's important to develop different techniques, and then you see which one you feel more comfortable. So this is what I did throughout the first 2 months of 2012. And then when I got a little bit more comfortable with my sculpting, I went with, the chest, the torso, the legs, and in less than 6 months, I made my first doll, my first doll named Clara, and it was a birthday gift back in 2012. So I was so happy, and this doll was so big. I mean, because I'm used to with big dolls, you know, I used to collect big dolls, between 16 and 18 inches dolls. So I knew my first doll would be quite big. But the most artist thing for me when I sculpted that first doll, she was sculpted with very difficult polymer clay to work with, which was a Fimo Classic. It was a very difficult clay to work with because it's so hard to mold. Oh my God, and to make the small details. But I wasn't discouraged. It was a learning process, you know, and I love taking my time, especially when it comes to learn something new. And I'm a very patient person. So I didn't mind, but at the end, I ended up making a doll. So this is Clara.
Oh, okay, nice.
This is my first doll. This is my first doll. She's quite doll. As you can see, she's very fragile, and I don't want to show her hands because this is the thing that I had a lot of problems sculpting the first time that I was sculpting a doll. It was the feet and the hands. It was terrible. So I had to practice a lot. I would say it took me a year and a half to have the right technique to make the right hands. Still, I'm still practicing, you know. So you can see that the doll has synthetic hair. Since I didn't want my first doll to be expensive to make. It was important for me to go with my budget, you know. And this is the thing I must, you know, say to people who want to start making dolls, just try to respect your budget, you know, because it can be very expensive, you know, making a doll. So start with polymer clay or air drying clay. Like most doll makers that I know, they start with those two mediums.
Thank you for that.
That's good advice.
Yeah, that is good advice. Wow, she looks great though for your first doll. I mean, her face, she has details on her face. I mean, really,
you did a great job.
Yeah. But I was so happy with her. And 2 months later, I made my second doll. So in 2012, I ended up making 5 dolls. So it was not bad. I felt comfortable. And this is what I say to people who are starting in the doll industry. Take your time. And me, what I did also throughout the year 2012 and 2013, since I was living alone, and sadly I got to divorce. I was living alone. No, it's okay. And but I was working, and I'm still working full time in the fashion industry, but I spend 2 hours every day making something related to dolls. So I was practicing every day. So if I spend a week not doing anything, I spend a weekend making things related to dolls, you know, sculpting faces, sculpting hands, you know, always because it's the only way is to practice. It's the only way.
That's a lot of dedication to your art every day. That's nice. Yeah, 2 hours a day. That's good.
Yes, and since I want to improve my techniques, especially I was in search for the best polymer clay as possible, but you cannot have perfection. The first thing I did after a year of making dolls is that I was mixing different brands of polymer clay. That's it. So and the results were fantastic. Mixing the strength of a material strengthened more another brand. And since I love challenging myself over the years, you know, I made almost 42 dolls in less than 5 years. No,
really?
in less than 4 years, 42 dolls.
Wow.
Yes, I know it's a lot, but
that's a lot.
Because what I love about doll making is not boring. It's fun. It's a fun process, and because there's a lot of challenge, you know. I finish a doll, I take pictures of her, I take pictures of my work in progress, and then promote everything, and then I go to the other one, the next doll, and that's what I love. And since I love challenging myself, I said I was ready for another material. So years later, 4 years later, in 2016, I was ready to make my first BDG doll. So her name is Pei. Don't ask me why, but her name is Pei, and she's a beautiful doll. And the first thing that I did to make that articulated doll, I bought more not doll magazine, but doll books from various artists. And the first artist it came to my mind that many doll makers were suggesting is Ryo Yoshida. You know, the doll maker from Japan. This is the book I suggest for all the doll makers who wants to make, you know, articulated one of a kind BGG dolls inspired by the mangas from Japan. This is what I require, you know, for people who wants to start with air drying clay. And this is what I did. With me, I didn't use air drying clay. I used polymer clay instead. Okay. And it's funny because that doll took me 6 months to make.
Wow.
That's my first BGG doll.
Nice.
And I'm so happy with her because she's big. She's 50 inches. No, she's 50 centimeters, 20 inches. So she's quite a big doll, and I love her because not only because she has beautiful features. I love her features.
Yeah.
And I made so many pictures of her, and I was crying when I finished that doll.
Oh. It's all I was crying. Hard work and dedication, you know.
Yes, because she took me 6 months, and I, you know what? The worst thing, not the worst thing, but the best thing is that I went back to school in college in textile design, and I was working part-time, and I was making dolls. So I was in a, and I am, and I'm still in a relationship. So I had the chance to manage everything, and I had the support by my boyfriend, which I think I love.
Thank you, boyfriend.
Thank you.
Yeah, he support me a lot, and that's why I love him so much, because he support me and he wants me to, you know, to succeed with this, you know.
Yes.
And I think that's the most important, is to have support loved ones, you know, your family. Like for me, my family, I didn't told them that I was making dolls. They saw few pictures of in my Facebook pages. And they asked me, oh, you make dolls? Okay. They were only my sisters. They were not surprised.
Okay. But were they supportive once they saw that you were doing it?
Oh, yes.
Very cool. Very
yes,
nice.
They were really supportive. Yes. And they thought, oh my God, they're beautiful. And but for who you making them, you know, for who you making them. But I'm making them for adult collectors, you know, serious adult collectors who love one-of-a-kind products, you know.
So I have a question for you, because you've got this prolific history. Do you make molds and then you know, make the mold and do that, or are you just like hand sculpting every single doll from scratch?
Okay. With polymer clay, BGG dolls, I have a technical sketch, just like the one behind me, with the measurements, how I want the doll to be, you know, once finished. So I try to respect, and I learned that technique by April Jensen and Ryo Yoshida. This is the way that they're working. You know, you have a technical drawing and you respect the technique. What you do sculpting, sculpting by taking measurements of the drawing. And when I'm sculpting, I always have a mirror where I sculpt in front of the mirror.
Okay.
So like that, and I always compare my drawing with the sculpture and take measurements. It's a long process. This is the right process for me.
Right. Yeah.
So this is how. But the only thing that I don't respect is the silhouette. I love when my dolls have different silhouettes. See, if you like, you can see in my website, you're going to see that the dolls, they're not alike. They have different shapes.
Right.
The silhouettes are quite different. Some are a little bit more taller. Some are more slimmer. Some have a more longer torso, short torso. So this is what I like. And what I like with polymer clay is the unknown. And me, I don't like to have a drawing, or a picture, and I'm trying to follow exactly the picture. This is not me. I prefer to go with the unknown, you know, and to see what it's going to look like at the end. That's it.
Okay.
But when it comes to molds, the year after, in 2017, I wanted to try another material, which is porcelain. And with porcelain, it's a long process. And porcelain, it's beautiful to work with, but the process is so long. So what I did, I decided to take classes, some workshop at Montreal Visual Arts Center for 6 months. This workshop was very important to know because I wanted to understand porcelain. I wanted to understand plaster and how to make mold from plaster.
Right.
And also how to use a firing kiln.
Yes.
So, and also I wanted to interact with other artists. Also, it was really important for me to interact with other artists from a different spectrum and to share their knowledge, to share their experience. So I did that for close to 6 months. That was back at the same time I was making polymer clay BGG dolls at the same time. So I stopped very slowly back in 2017. The first mold that I made, it was a head mold. And you can see it in my website also, all the work in progress with porcelain.
Good.
And it was difficult. I have to admit to you guys, it was a difficult process because the first thing I had to do, it was to make a very big master doll in polymer clay. And this doll is 24 inches. She is big. She's a big doll. It's a good size. And because, you know, once you firing a porcelain piece, it shrinks.
It shrinks, yeah.
It shrinks a lot. And the porcelain that I was using, it was shrinking around 16 to 20%.
Okay.
So if I wanted to have a doll at the end, that the measurement has to be around 18 to 20 inches. So the doll had to, the master doll had to be 24 inches tall.
Okay.
The first firing, you know, the greenware firing, it's a 6-hour work of firing, and then you have to clean the pieces, and then waited like 2 to 5 days before ended up working with those pieces to make the second firing, which is the bisque firing, the long firing from 8 to 10 hours. And then you have to clean again the pieces, and then you have to the china painting, which is another 5 to 6 hours. It's a long process.
Wow.
So making this kind of dolls, you need to be patient. It is not for people who love to, you know, it's like 1, 2, 3, you have a doll, you know, you have to take it. And it took me a year of, you know, teaching myself and taking with the workshop that I took and the master mold, the master doll that I made, it took me a year.
Wow.
All the year 2017.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, a year of hard work. And I loved it. I loved it so much. So I ended up making 7 dolls, 7 porcelain BGG dolls.
Wait, you made 7 porcelain dolls from the...
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of pieces also. I cast a lot of heads.
Okay.
Just to practice with China paint.
Yes.
Painting and yeah. And I love it. I love it really a lot. But and what I love the most with the porcelain BGG dolls is the way that how the doll are assembled with a system which is metal wires, metal springs and hooks. So the doll is more articulated because you know most BGG dolls they're assembled with an elastic. It's not strong. It's not very for me. It's not sturdy. You know. So this is one of my porcelain dolls.
Okay.
Oh, she's pretty.
So this is one of my porcelain dolls with mohair.
Okay.
And she's quite heavy. Porcelain is heavy.
Yes. And
maybe that's why I decided to stop making porcelain dolls and go to another material, which is resin.
Okay.
So, and resin was a beautiful process also. And I took few classes to learn how to use, how to make silicone molds.
Okay.
and how to cast resin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a challenge also. It's a huge challenge because you can make air bubbles, the air bubbles. You need to have the proper materials to make, resin dolls. So I cast so many dolls. You have no idea.
Wow.
Because, at the end, I ended up, yes, making 5 dolls, but there's many pieces I had to go to the junk.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that before about especially silicone, that it's very finicky,
Yeah.
And you
Yes.
use a lot of stuff before you actually make something.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And the thing is with resin, why I decided to slow down with resin, it was a great experience, is that it's much more expensive than porcelain. And silicone is much more expensive than plaster. It's twice, even 4 times more expensive than plaster. It's expensive making resin dolls.
What do you use now?
I'm still using polymer clay.
Okay.
And I'm still gonna use resin, but I'm gonna use resin in another way. I'm working on 2 prototype dolls.
Okay.
And those 2 prototype dolls, the skeleton is made out of resin. But the external of the doll is molded with polymer clay, a mix of polymer clay.
Oh, that should be much more forgiving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you have an issue, like if you get a bubble or something.
Exactly.
You should still be able to use the resin piece. Okay.
But the other thing I have a problem with resin is the painting. The way you're painting the dolls the painting is just fading away over time. Not with polymer clay. You don't have that problem with polymer clay. And the other thing with the resin is that if you overexpose, the resin over UV light, sunlight, UV light, it gets yellowed, so it yellowed. So this is another problem with resin. Now you have, there's much more, the better quality resin right down there, but they're much more expensive. So if one day I have to, send my prototype doll for a small production in China or in South Korea, I'm going to take the best quality of resin as possible.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
But right now I'm working, like I said, I'm working on 2 prototypes, but the dolls will be much more smaller. So yes, I decided to go with the same height as Barbie doll and Integrity Toys
so
dolls.
12 inches.
Yeah, 12 inches exactly, which is going to be much more easier for me because the engineering is my challenge now. The engineering because the way I want the doll to, the joints to be connected from each other. This is what I'm working on right now.
Once you create the prototype, so you're going to send that out. Are you going to mass produce that? Or are you still going to have a limited amount?
But the first thing I'm going to check is really if the engineering, if it's the possibility, the way that the doll is moving, it's perfect, and I like it, and I feel comfortable with it. I'm maybe gonna send the production in China. Yeah.
Okay.
Or South Asia. And I started back in 2018, but I discovered most of these companies, they're small cottage companies, especially when it comes to resin dolls, especially in South Korea. So there's many independent great doll artists in the planet. Not a lot of manufacturers.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're hearing people going to different countries. Yeah. Spain,
there's
Russia,
not a lot. Yes. Oh yes. And but there's two companies in Russia which I'm quite interested with, but and the quality is beautiful. It's beautiful. So
okay, that's good.
We'll see. We'll see.
That's good.
Yeah. So when you're talking about making dolls that are the height of Barbie, will your dolls be able to fit Barbie clothing?
Yes, I'm thinking about that.
That's a smart move.
But my doll's going to be a little bit more curvy.
Yeah,
it's going to be a little bit more curvy because, like I said, I said to you, Tammy, in the past, I got a little bit of criticisms in terms of my dolls. There were some people told me that they look way too skinny, too thin. So the message was not a good message I was sending, especially from someone who's come from the fashion world. So I had a bit of complaints. People didn't like that. And I was surprised by the people were complaining. It was younger people, younger doll collectors. And yes. And they told me we prefer to have, a better body positivity in terms of image. We know that there are art dolls, but it's a message that you're sending. You need to take the responsibility that, it can affect, the general public. So try to make dolls that are different shapes, especially more curvy, So that's why I started with my resin dolls that resin BGG dolls. They are more curvy. And many people, they were really happy with the way the dolls were, because how they look like. They look more natural.
Right. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
It's good you listen to your customers.
Yeah, customers. Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So you've been talking a lot about the journey of building, creating, engineering, but not so much about the why. I mean, you saw this doll magazine and it sparked. So what happened, like on an emotional level? What? I mean, we're hearing about the technical side. What about you as a person, and why?
Yeah. Why did you want to do
this?
Yes, okay. Well, because I'm in the fashion industry, it's been over 20 years now. And this industry, the fashion industry is a tough industry. And I said to myself, if I want one day to have my own label, I mean, in terms of fashion, it won't be in the fashion industry. It's going to be with dolls. And I saw that with, with Charles Fagan and Desmond Langer, the two doll makers behind the Cyber dolls. And, it just gave me hope. And it gave me hope. And the same thing with Jason Wu. Now he's a well-known fashion designer now. So, and his work was exquisite and still his, So the same thing for me. I said to myself, you know what? I don't need to be in the fashion industry to make fashion. I just can make dolls with my own aesthetic. So, and the fashion industry is that once you finish a collection, you're exhausted and you go with the next one. It's a non-stop process. Every 6 months, there's a new collection, and it's very fast speed. Exactly, but not in the doll making world. It's completely opposite. You cannot go fast. So you have to take. So I'm torn between the two. So when it comes to me to make fashion, yes, I take a lot of my time making, the engineering part, all the sculpting aspect. The technical aspect is very important for me in terms of making the dolls, because this is where I feel most comfortable, especially at the beginning. Now I feel much more comfortable over the years because I have more experience. But in terms of fashion, I have no problem, because this is the thing that I know the best, is fashion. So that's why I didn't put myself too much in the terms of fashion, because I know what to do when it comes to fashion. Have to have a creative board, which is behind me, and put all the things that inspired me in terms of fabrics, in terms of photos, pictures, whatever things that inspire me, I can pin them in my board. But in terms of making the dolls, it's something else. And that's why I decided to make dolls, because dolls is the best way for me to, to showcase my designs. In the past, 300 years ago, Louis XV, he was using dolls to showcase the last French fashion throughout two dolls, the Pandora dolls, the two Pandora dolls. And these dolls were traveling across different royal courts throughout Europe. And so, and then you have after the Second World War, there was Théâtre de la Mode, and they were using dolls to showcase the last Parisian fashions. Yeah, the 1950s, you saw the booming, the fashion doll booming. So they were booming because of that. Yes. So, yeah.
Cool. So it just gives you an opportunity. It's like your canvas, really, for you to express your own other passion, right? Your own Yeah, both of your passions, right? Create dolls to express your passion for fashion, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not only passionate about, because what I love about fashion is this textile designs. It's textile. And because what I love about textile is ethnic textiles. You know, you have textile from Africa, from different countries from Africa, native Indian fabrics, you know, and Indonesian, Indian. That's why it attracts me so much. That's why I started with polymer clay, because I knew I would make ethnic fashion dolls because of the textiles.
So let me ask you this: with the dolls that you're creating, will they be able to change clothes? And will you be creating outfits for those dolls as well?
Yes, yes. These dolls won't be static dolls.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, there will be if you love Barbie dolls and the Twiggy Toys dolls or Momoko dolls, you're gonna be, I think you're gonna be happy with that.
Okay.
But it's the first time I'm gonna work with such small dolls, you know. But so I prefer to start with small dolls, because in terms of production, and then with the demand, I will go with a higher size.
Okay.
So how many dolls did you plan on releasing with this release, your first release of your new dolls?
Half a dozen.
Oh, a small, okay.
Wow. Half a dozen. They're all gonna be one of a kind.
Okay.
Okay.
But they're gonna be part of the same collection.
Okay.
So this is the first collection that I'm gonna make. It's gonna be 6 dolls, and then there will be a second collection the same year, 6 more dolls. So so 1 dozen.
Okay. All right. So 2 dolls and 6 of these. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
The clothing will be able to fit both dolls.
Yes.
Okay. And so if you, let's say, I'm assuming that what's going to happen is you're going to want to do this. This will be ongoing for a while. So are you going to continue to use that same body so that these dolls can all share clothes?
Yes, I'm going to make sure that, I'm going to make sure that the dolls can share the same outfit, because that's the goal, why making so many dolls if you cannot share, clothes, so
yeah. Okay.
But I have, like I said, I have a prototype. So the prototype is going to, I'm going to follow that prototype and to sculpt each dolls. So, yeah.
Okay.
This is the doll, my beautiful Caribbean resin doll. And she's 20 inches tall. So she's a big doll. And I love her so much because this mold is the same mold, face mold, as this one, just down there. And exactly, so you can see. So they're not heavy compared to the porcelain dolls. They're quite, but they're still big. I'm molding them, and I have a bit problems to holding them properly. I'm going to make them sit. That's why I can't wait to play with smaller
ones,
dolls. Yeah. Because big dolls are very difficult to play with, I know that some people, they love big dolls, and it's funny because their dolls were much more bigger than that. They're across 30 inches, 27 inches, which is quite big. I mean,
yeah, those are big. Now the dolls that you just showed me, is that the other doll? Is that the one with the freckles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. She's so cute. I love freckles on dolls. Like I was telling you before.
But it's funny because I know a few Black people who have freckles.
Oh yeah. Oh, my son has them. Totally.
We know a number of them.
Yeah, my youngest son. Every time I see him, it's like, oh my gosh, he has more freckles. It's just like all across here. It's so funny.
It's incredible. There's a lot of them who have freckles. And it's beautiful, and it's beautiful. So and I know many doesn't like that, especially women, so they put makeup on. So
but I think when you see the doll, like I mentioned before when we started, when I had mentioned that I saw the doll with the freckles, I think anytime you put something on a doll like that, that's really personal, like freckles or dimples or something like that, it's just, for some reason, it just makes a different connection, I think.
Yes, it's true.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
It's just true. Oh, like it's so much, it's so relatable, I think, you know, even though
It's
you don't
true.
have them, you just know that people do, and to see them on a doll, it's like, wow, that's so cool. Yeah, I just loved it. I thought she was really cute.
Well, maybe that's why I love ethnic dolls so much, because you know, every ethnicities has its own beauty. And this is what I want to celebrate, you know. And when it
Yes.
comes to black dolls, it's much better. You know why? Because from what I've heard, I've read an article about, you know, the makeup industry by Lancôme and L'Oréal. They said that there are 40 shades of black in the world. It is the most complex shades in the world compared to Asian complexion, which is around 18, and the white complexion is around 12. So black is the most complex
40.
one. So that's why when it comes to making black dolls, there's not a dozen of shades. There's
40.
twice much more. They're three times much more.
Right.
So, and for my example, you know, I have three sisters, and we're all not the same skin tone at all. So that's why it's frustrating me, because my mom doesn't have the same skin tone complicity, you know. She's more lighter than me, and my grandmother, she's biracial. So it's and my father is very dark. So that's why when it comes to making black dolls, I'm always skeptical, you know. And now I see the improvements from the past decade. I see the improvement when it comes to black dolls. A lot of from different companies and independent artists, I found they're more respectful when it comes to ethnic dolls. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And yeah, and we're seeing it also, like you said, in makeup. And so my children are biracial. And when my child goes to shop for makeup, they will tell the person that I want a brand that has colors that my mother can wear. If my mother can't wear their makeup, I don't spend my money with that company. Because there are some companies who have just, you know, just a few colors, they don't
shades,
color us.
right, yeah.
And
but they're not really mixed for us, really.
And I don't consider myself to be a hard color to. I mean, it's we have such a big range. It's like if you stop before my color, then the majority of us you don't have makeup for.
Right, exactly. Well, like you said, there's like 40 different shades. I mean, that's
this is an article by L'Oréal and Lancôme Paris, and they were saying that the black skin tone is the most complex one. So
and the undertones are different too.
Yeah.
So exactly.
Like you can still have people with the same shade. Like, I mean, we can still have like literally like Tam can have a person next to her with her shade.
Exactly. More rosy, more peachy.
But those, right. But even those two shades, right, have different undertones. So things show up differently, you know, and look different.
Yeah. This is what I love about making art dolls, especially with polymer clay, because when you're mixing, you know, different colors, this is what I like. In my beginnings, this is what I love, is this effect of surprise. Oh my God, she looks like, I don't know, she looks like an Indian. Oh my God, no, she looks like someone who's from South Asia. Oh no, and she's mixed, but you don't know where she comes from. And this is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that.
And that's great. I mean, another collection, a different size, you know, I think that's going to be really good for you. Yeah.
So do you have the prototypes of the new dolls?
No, I have the sketch just behind me. I'm going to give myself between 6 to 12 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it's two prototypes. I'm working on. Okay. So maybe if everything's going well, maybe I'm going to finish those prototypes way before. It's depending how the engineering goes.
Right, because this will be your first time actually creating prototypes that are 12 inches, right?
Yes, but the biggest challenge for me is that because I don't want to use any elastics. I'm trying to avoid
stringing the doll.
To stringing the dolls, and I don't want, and so they won't be BGG dolls. They're gonna be posable dolls, just like, you know, the Momoko dolls or Barbie dolls and Intricity Toys dolls, but they will be more posable, so you can play with them more.
Okay.
So I'm working on that. I'm working with that aspect. So the engineer aspect, this is the most important part.
Okay.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Will they be a play line doll then? Because you're talking about you can do more playing and posing. Or
Yes,
is that going to be collectible? Okay.
Both of them. So you can collect them and play with them.
Okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see those.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. And if everything's going really well, I'm going to go with a much more bigger doll, which is going to be maybe around 15 to 16 inches, not taller than that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Goodness.
Dedicated, I tell you.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I love about it? It gets people to see not just the dedication, but the work that goes into making a doll. And I think a lot of times people don't understand the work that it goes into creating a doll. But the fact that you're willing to spend the time to create
yes.
Because sometimes people want to have something and they just want to rush through that and get it done, because you allow yourself the time, create the things that you want and to learn the things that you need to learn.
It's important. And another thing also is to learn from many art forms, whatever it's from DVDs, from sculpting books, doll making books, online classes. Yeah, I'm still taking online classes, by the way. I'm going to take 4 of them. I'm taking right now online classes. So whatever, now I'm taking a class from illustration, ZBrush classes also, and I'm taking a cartoon classes because I want to make cartoons. Nice. I want to make a background. Yeah, I want to make a background story with my dolls.
That's really cool.
That sounds fun.
Cartoon class. Yeah, that sounds really cool, right?
Yeah.
Because my whole idea at the end is to make a brand to promote Miss Georgia. Because Miss Georgia, she's a Bohemian. She's a cultured woman. You don't know her background, you don't know her ethnicity, but she's from the fashion world, the cultural world. So I want really to make a brand out of it, So this is where I'm at for the moment.
Yeah, we're excited to see.
Yes, I'm excited too.
So when they get finished, you gotta make sure you contact us so we can. Be part of the new doll.
Yeah, I'm gonna share it, and also I'm gonna say it right now. I'm working also into static dolls.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. 2 fashion static dolls. I didn't say no to static dolls, but this is more art dolls, that I'm going to sell to eBay next year. But you're going to see some pictures of the work in progress in my Instagram page and Facebook. So I'm not telling too much. So I'm working on that also. So I have the next few months going to be very busy ones.
Okay. They'll be able to get to see that on your website and Instagram. They'll be able to see that, the progress for that. Okay.
That's great.
That'd be great. Yeah.
That's exciting. I'm always excited to see
new dolls. Right?
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
It's funny because many people tell me, you made so many dolls. Which one is your favorite one? There's none of them. Because I'm always excited with the next one.
Yeah.
I'm always
excited.
Yes, I love them because I love the process of making them, but I'm always more excited with the next one. The only thing that I am exciting is when this pandemic is going to end one day. I hope there's going to be more doll shows. I would love to make a doll show, whatever is in my city or in Toronto or whatever in the US. Yeah.
You want to do a doll show with just your dolls or with other people?
No, with other doll makers.
Okay, nice.
Yes, I want to interact with other doll makers, to see their journey. To see them in person. It's fun to, to have this sort of gathering,
Yeah.
So this is, this pandemic is, I kind of miss it,
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably something that so many, but like you said, doll makers and collectors miss because nobody's really had a huge opportunity to go and you know, and spend time in the places that they love. Yeah.
I can't wait for the show to getting back, because here in Canada it's pretty strict because of what's going on with the COVID. It's pretty strict here. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you guys are still under lockdown?
No, we're not in lockdown.
Okay.
Like most of people, you're getting used to it. Can you believe that it's going to be 2 years in February?
No.
Yeah.
It's just daunting on so many levels, you know.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just it's like, oh my gosh. Like,
just wish everybody would just put their
do what they
mask
gotta
on
do.
and get a shot, whatever, just so that we can just stop this, so we can move. Yeah. It's sad.
It really is crazy. So, but yes. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really beautiful learning about you and your process and all the things that you learned and are applying and creating.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I hope it gave hope to future doll makers who want to start making their own dolls.
Yes.
Yes, I hope it's going to be a resource for all the doll makers, and to celebrate, our own journey as doll makers, So, and have a sort of celebration. And what is fun with the making dolls is, for me, it makes me happy, So, and if it makes me happy, I hope it's going to make other people, doll collectors, and to be happy also.
Yes. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Because I'm having a blast, and I'm having fun.
It's always nice to be able to do something that you enjoy doing, and especially when you're putting as much time into it as you are. It's nice that you're enjoying it, not just, I'm trying to make a buck. That's a totally different feeling.
That's true.
Thank you.
So again, we want to thank you for joining us. It's been an honor and a pleasant conversation. We look forward to speaking with you again. So where can people reach out to you if they want to know more about you and your dolls?
Oh, if you want to follow my work, it's very easy. You go to my website, ateliermissgeorgia.com, or you go directly to my Instagram page. The Instagram page is AMG Doll. And you can follow me also at my 2 Facebook pages, which is Atelier Miss Georgia Doll and AMG Doll.
So we'll have all those links below so that people can
make sure they can
get them and contact you.
Follow my work,
Yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being
Bye-bye.
Us in the doll world.